Hello, I represent the World Handmade Association. We are a non-profit organization dedicated to protect and promote the handmade skills. We salute all who have developed their skills and helped make the world a better place. Our mission is to develop programs that preserve the talents of some very wonderful people using video. Then do our best to promote and teach, particularly our young people, that there's a special magic when something is handmade. Handmade is fast becoming an endangered species. We think that some of the best things in life have always been handmade. There is something about a handmade treasure, something that helps to bind families, friends, and life together. My family makes things with their hands too, and over the years I've met some wonderful people who produce things with their hands, and their comments are that it's the best therapy in the world. Each of our programs features someone who has touched the world with their talented hands and their work. Our program today is presented with the hope that the inspiration that comes from seeing what someone else can accomplish, working with their heads, their hearts, and their hands, might inspire you to reach inside yourself to find and develop the talents you might have. Our programs feature some of the world's most unique artists, artisans, and craftspeople throughout the world. And today, for our first program, we have the founder of the World Handmade Association, Dr. Louis R. Jensen. Hi.
Hi, Patty.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great.
Hey, we're excited to talk to you today. This is our first program, so this program's about you.
We got an interesting story. I think it's going to be something everybody will
Now, you were
really
a dentist.
enjoy. Dentist. I was the guy that everybody hates to go have to see. Day in and day out, trying to play with people and fix their teeth and keep their emotions
intact. You kept hurting their feelings,
I hurt
right?
their feelings every time.
Okay.
Yeah. Got really discouraged with the dental career. Went through the educational process. My brother and I are both dentists, and it just was a terrible end result. And I started looking. I had to find something else. There was no way I could finish 30 years being a dentist. And then an amazing thing happened in my life, a particular singular moment that changed my directions and has made me an awful lot of money and has been easily as exciting a story as ever happened to any one individual.
Gee, what happened? What started this?
How did it all started with an Easter egg. I was having a family Easter egg decorating contest, and the children were doing the fancier eggshells, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, you know, if I go out and cut the holes out of these patterns on this eggshell and turn it into a little better piece of artwork, I might actually win this family Easter egg contest. So that was my only initial motivation. And I literally have moved to the point now, this is an ostrich egg.
Oh my goodness.
And we could take an
egg.
ultra high speed drill and cut an eggshell in any fashion, any direction, and not break it. I get about $500 a piece for one of these. It takes me about 2 hours to make one.
2 hours.
And that's a little better than doing root canals.
Okay, there you go.
So it really is such an eccentric kind of a beginning for me, but it started in 1975. I started traveling around the country doing art shows thinking that's what I had discovered. And in reality, I discovered the first ultra-high-speed straight handpiece.
Now, the high speed is the main important thing here, right?
The dental trade has built this handpiece over the years. That's the one you're all very familiar with.
Oh, yeah, we hear the sounds.
You hear the sound everywhere. This is my first idea of a straight handpiece. I just took a little plastic tubing and put the drill bit in the drill turbine in there, and it turns. That's about all.
Wow.
But we ended up building the first straight high-speed drill in 1979 and 80. And that thing there will do things in the marketplace that most people just don't realize.
Wow.
The dental trade,
how fast does it go?
300,000 RPM.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
10 times faster than any other tool that people are familiar with in the jewelry trade or any art
And it doesn't break it,
world.
it just
cut it in any direction. So it really is kind of significant in the world of producing things like this, and that's where Paragraphics as a company.
Wow, now how did you come up with the
started.
name Paragraphics?
Well, dentistry has paralegal, paradental technicians, so the drill was used for engraving, and so para-engraving
Came
out really easily.
Just came together.
Wasn't hard to do at all.
So you ended up carving an empire out of an eggshell.
Yeah, literally,
Okay,
literally.
great.
My first major exposure came in this magazine, National Craft Decorating Ideas magazine, and it got the largest readership in response in the history of the magazine. I started carving this.
And you were voted the top 800.
Top 800 craft artists in the United States, and I didn't think I had it in me. I like to do stuff with my hands, but I didn't consider myself much of an artist. And most of the stories we're going to talk about today are people in that same category. I'm not an artist. You think I could make a career out of this? There's no way.
Wow, so there's hope for some of us who are not artists.
There is hope for almost anybody. And we've got some stories and examples of people now that we've taught that are actually doing better than I am. This is
The
Lou
Harley
Delgado,
Davidson, good.
Harley
Okay.
Davidson guy, and yet this article shows he had this written about him recently. Lou has the record in the network for an ostrich eggshell card for $3,800.
Wow.
$3,800 for a
And
single
it takes
eggshell.
a couple of hours.
About
So
2 or
there
3
you go.
hours to do.
$4,000 for 2
So,
hours.
you know, that's not too bad. Then we
Okay.
have Jerry Brazil and got the full cover of the Sunday supplement.
Oh, in San Antonio, Texas.
And he is doing the exact same thing.
Wow,
I'd like
those are
to
gorgeous.
show
Those are
you a
amazing.
clip. I've got a paragraver in Las Vegas named Dee McNeely who has learned to do this. She won the Nevada State Fair thinking she's not an artist, and yet she won the whole fair because
Wow.
this kind of thing is so unique. Let me show you what Dee has to say.
When Dee McNeely turns on this dentist drill, her creativity comes out of the shell.
And about 2 years ago, I finally decided that I had the nerve to cut an egg. And once you try it, it's just absolutely fascinating. It's so fun.
A fascination that fills her days. The painstaking details of engraving an egg like this one take a steady hand and a lot of patience. McNeely's work is paying off. Her eggs have received dozens of awards. McNeely even offers clinics for those who want to learn the art of what's called paragraving, the engraving of unusual objects. But she says her artistry with eggs is anything but unusual.
Eggs have been given since, before the 10th century. So it's a very, very old tradition. I understand that Mexican weddings still give eggs.
The engraved eggs come in all shapes and sizes. McNeely says they're amazingly sturdy, and they're not just for Easter. She's made one for cat lovers, one for trick-or-treaters, and even some for dinosaur fans. And there's even an oversized egg for those who want their eggs adorned with apple blossoms.
Sunflowers are the end.
These oval masterpieces will run you anywhere from $10 to more than $600, depending on the detail. While finding buyers isn't a problem, McNeely says the difficulty is finding enough eggs to engrave. Cecily Tynan for Contact 13.
It's just so forgiving.
We started kind of an unusual transition where I was engraving on car windows. A friend of mine asked me to put her initials on her window of her car, and I'm going, on glass? I've never done it before on glass. And this is pictures of me doing that the first time. We were doing a car show in LA, and a guy came along with the name of Dick Deloche, who's the editor of Truckin' Magazine. He coined the phrase high-tech engraving for us, and that was the very first article about the company that was ever produced. Then Hot Rod Magazine and Custom Painting Issue came along and did this whole story called Window Wonderland, and that just blew us into a company. When this got through writing, and then things started happening, we had a kit, we had packages, we had interest with people, and then we started having success stories. And I would like to now show you a couple of clips of things that I did during that automotive period, and then we'll come back and introduce you to some of those people.
Good.
Okay?
Good.
All I've done here is take the eagle right out of the art book. This is the eagle pattern that we have. I've made the stencil here. Now, if you're doing it on a tinted glass, sometimes the dark doesn't show up so well with the lines, and all you've got to do is tape a really white piece of paper behind the glass, and then the lines from the stencil will show up enough for you to see them. Then I trace all the lines through and then come back in and fill it all in. Step by step, really easy process, of which we're going to show you now how to do some of this stuff. Once we've got the stencil stuck on about right here, then just getting it down somewhat smoothly from that point on is not too difficult. You don't have to worry about little bubbles getting underneath with the drill. If you were going to sandblast this, you wouldn't want any air to get through it. But to be able to engrave it, it doesn't really matter that much if there's a bubble like right here and right there. While you're learning, it's a good idea to learn on a scrap piece of glass. Practice a pattern. If it's a brand new pattern, even if I've been engraving for years, if it's a brand new pattern, I don't put it on a car window the first time. I'll engrave it a time or two on a piece of scrap glass till I make sure that I've got the lines. So you can see how I'm going at it really fairly quick, and it'll actually make those lines turn out better than if I try and trace them in there really slow. But on glass, you can just wipe that off so slick and so easy, and you can see now that's what it looks like, coming right off underneath the stencil, right after I've done the engraving. And then we'll come back in and seal it with a paintbrush with some some fingernail polish. Our very first kit was sold to a guy in a truck stop in Colorado, Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Right there in the truck stop, just showing the truckers an example of the kind of work that he could do, and he's out there engraving the truck while the guy's in having a hamburger. It's really a fun place to get some early engraving experience, and yet you can still generate some pretty incredible amounts of money. Patty, we're going to introduce a number of people to you today who have been involved with Paragraphics, some for quite a long time.
Wow.
The first is Keith Hone,
nice
one of
to
my
meet you, Keith.
longtime
Hi,
friends. Keith is the first Paragraphic master.
And the oldest.
And the oldest.
The oldest, okay.
We take people from not doing anything from what we call a 1-star level to 2 stars to 3 stars, 5-star in our program as a master.
So what were you doing before you met Dr.
Well,
Lou?
I was teaching industrial arts in a high school.
Oh, okay.
Great job, but
You
after
worked with
24
wood then a
years,
little more?
Yes.
You worked with
Enough,
wood.
A lot
looking
of
for
wood.
something else.
Now, how did you meet Dr. Lou then?
some of my friends told me about him. That he had this fantastic high-speed tool.
Now, he
So
wasn't your dentist.
I just, thank goodness.
Some
He wasn't my
crazy dentist had gone in a whole other
Okay.
direction. Keith carved this for me one time. This is my Christmas present. Solid walnut pattern with my name cut on it. And we're going to use it a little later and show you something
What's
of
this
how
on the
that's
back?
done.
There's
But
something here on the
this is a carving of the deer as it takes its steps, okay? As the muscles change and it takes each step, that's how it would look. So it's as an art teaching tool, it's quite important. But the title of the piece is One Step at a Time, and that's kind of how we do all
So
this.
you do this right now. This is
Yes.
what your carving is. After
That's-
you were an industrial arts teacher, then you met him and changed your whole direction.
Build a
Right.
whole business around
Wow.
using his hands and using this equipment and making something work.
Shifted gears into a more of an artistic world.
Let's show her
Ooh,
just
do I
how,
get to see some?
yeah, let's show her just how good you
Oh,
are.
do I get
Keith.
to do that?
Oh, yes.
I love to
I
show
wanna
my work.
see.
Yeah. Now this
Oh,
is
my
a
goodness.
synthetic ivory kind of handle on the gun that
Wow,
he's
so
carved.
this is a buffalo.
Yep, those are buffalo scenes.
Okay.
All done with a pattern process. Everything we do
Oh, there's another one here.
is using a pattern. We make a pattern with an adhesive mylar sheet with the artwork on it and stick the
Wow.
pattern on the surface, and then we come in and do the carving over that. Now there's
That
an
is
awful lot of
incredible.
Keith's
Look
work
at
that's
that.
absolutely amazing, Patty. I think I've got a clip here. Can we go to that, Keith? Let's
Wow,
show her a
that could be
close-up
Let's do
of
that.
some of your really neat work.
Don't shoot that egg.
Yes.
Don't shoot my eggshell.
Yeah, don't shoot
those,
the egg.
those will break.
Before, I just had never dared work on a gun with the Dremel and the Fordham. They just cut too coarse and too rough. But the high speed is, I mean, I've mentioned to you a couple of times I thought this tool was invented just for guns. This has to be one of the very, very first designs we tried with the high speed with wood. And the texture, the veining is left raised. But this is the gun we took to the NRA show, one of the first ones. Raised a lot of eyebrows, and we got had some very interesting comments. But it's just super with the high speed.
Now, we've got lots of masters in the network. One of the other ones that's very well known in wood, we won the World Wood Carving Championships in 1993 in
Oh, my
Ocean City,
goodness.
Maryland. Keith and I were there with Greg Woodard. Won in 93. I keep telling Greg that it was because of the high-speed drill he was using, but
Had to be.
That's amazing.
no, this guy is an absolute incredible artist. He raises falcons and carves the birds, and the
Oh,
work
wow.
is so good you'd swear it was the real thing.
Well, you
things
know,
that he
this is
does.
amazing to me, how you have developed this art into absolute
Coming from
mastery and
hardly
coming
anything.
from nothing. I can't imagine, the viewers and I are totally amazed. How in the world would any amateur get started in this?
Okay,
You're
this
gonna be surprised.
This is the part we want to
I-
really try and have the folks at home or anyone that's watching this video really understand. We've made great lengths to not have Patty understand what's going on here. You
Well,
don't-
I'm very clueless,
You
that's
have
good.
not used you have not used the drill ever in your life.
No.
And we would like to show you an actual demonstration, take you through step by step to show you.
And you're
the-
saying that you think that I could learn how to do this. I mean, I can't
You're
even do
gonna-
anything with felt and Elmer's glue.
All
I mean,
right,
what do you
let's do
expect?
this. Let's give it a try. You're
Okay.
going to be really surprised. This is our handpiece, Patty. Ultra high speed drill, Looks just like a pen, works just like a pen, so if you keep that in mind, you'll be fine. Let's have you put on some safety glasses here for you.
Okay, you really you trust me
You
with
bet.
this thing.
You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You ever heard that noise before?
Yes.
You know
It
that
makes my
sound?
teeth hurt just to listen to it.
When you're on the money-making end of the drill, it doesn't hurt a bit.
Oh, okay.
Keep that in mind. Now, the first thing I'm going to have you do, there's a bit in there and it's rotating. You can't hardly even feel it. All I want you to do is just sign your name, just like you're using a pen. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
All right.
That is amazing.
So just write your name just like. Now, the more you're doing it, the better you're getting. Good girl.
Oh
good
my
girl.
gosh.
All right.
That is really light.
Well, you're
it's just
you're
like,
thinking drill, but it really isn't.
You
It's
have to
just a
think pen.
It's
like,
just a pen.
Actually, it's even lighter than a pen because some of my pens I, press a little lighter, harder.
Now, if we go to the pattern part of this whole thing, then everything changes even more. Okay?
Oh,
We've got the stencil here.
Okay, you've got this paper here.
We're going to cut this stencil out. It's already been photocopied. And all we're going to do is position it on a piece of glass. We've got this really nice little, this is a silver overlaid
You are going to trust me
thing.
to do something on this.
This is going to be good because it's going to be yours, all right?
Oh my gosh,
Now we're going
how
to take
scary.
the glass out of here, like this, okay? And all we want to do now is take this stencil and let's put it about right there. How's that?
Oh, okay.
Is that close enough?
Yeah.
Now you could reposition it. Take it anywhere else if you wanted to. Now, it's just like a pen. I'm going to do a little tiny bit for you. But all you do now is trace the lines. These are shaded lines here, so we're going to do those a little later. You just want to do the outline like that. Just trace the lines. You can go in any direction. And you want to hold the drill kind of off to the side, kind of like that, okay?
Okay, let's see, where did you get to here?
Now you can see where the lines are going because you're cutting the lines out while you're doing it. And actually, when you do go quite quickly and your smoother cuts, the lines look better when you go a little faster. You're doing perfect.
Wow.
Okay, now there's one. Yeah, right there. Right there. So we've got a diamond cutter in there right now. Do that line right up there, those two.
Okay, those little lines right here.
Now I want everybody to kind of pay attention to a couple things. First of all, you've never had the drill in your hands in your life.
No, I haven't even heard it.
A lot of people are going to say, well, I'm not so sure, Dr. Lou, she works for you here. We made a lot of effort to not have you really get involved with this ahead of time so they would really know that this is the first time effort that anybody's ever used the drill.
Can I color like I'm coloring with a crayon?
Now these lines here, if you kind of start here and pull them in and just do like that.
Oh.
Okay, those are actual shading kinds of lines. And so you want to you don't have to do them exactly the way they're on there.
Yeah.
See, we don't want people to actually think the 90-year-old folks playing with one concept or another. But what we've come up with is that Paragraphics is entering an area of business that we call graphics transfer, which is a very old business. We basically take something and put something on it. And we've done that all through this whole program. We have put engraving on glass, engraving on wood. We've done sandblasting on metal and glass and wood, and all those kinds of things are graphic transfer. But so is airbrushing. And even though it's a 100-year-old technology, there are not many people who really know a great deal about it. I want to give you an idea just how good this guy really is as an airbrush artist. Now this is a picture of my son's ex-girlfriend.
This is an airbrush.
This is an airbrushed picture. But there's a secret going on here. Just like all the other graphic transfer methods we've talked about so far, is that this is done with a projected image and patterns.
Oh.
Okay, so if we put the patterns up there and then airbrush to the patterns, almost anybody can airbrush and do a really, really good job of it. You're convinced of that?
I am convinced.
You're
you
convinced.
can teach anybody.
Now, how'd you meet Lou?
I didn't go to Lou, he came to me. He found me.
This is a switch for the first time.
You were discovered then.
I was discovered.
He was working at Media Play, the big record CD marketing company, and he was doing the enlargements of the CD covers that are all over the store to help them sell their products. and he can take a cover by Mariah Carey and blow it into this huge, gigantic
my
mural.
goodness,
Yeah,
huge
they were for
mural.
promotional things for media play.
Oh
And
my
the
gosh.
funny part of it is he's taught himself to do the airbrushing, but he's also just kind of walked into the marketing end of this whole thing because of what he can do tends to sell itself in the marketplace. So we
Yes,
learn
word of
the
mouth.
technical side first, how to do the stuff, and I got to show you this. This is my absolute first airbrushing picture in my life.
Oh my
I saw
goodness.
these airbrushed marbles in a magazine, and I went, hey, you got to teach me how to do that, James. I have to know. And that's my very first effort.
Well, that's
and
beautiful.
these stars are just so, these bullets are so easy to do, you just go,
So simple.
oh,
my
I can't
goodness.
believe it.
They look so difficult.
They look really hard to do. But it's nothing more than a pattern. See that pattern reduced like that there? Those are individual cut out acetate patterns, and you airbrush them into the picture in sequence.
Oh my goodness.
So
sakes.
once you know technically what you're doing, one
Then it's
more
all shadows
subject is
and
just,
shades.
Yep.
just shading and composition.
Teach them how
is
to
all
do
it
the
is.
shading and everything.
Then you
James
have it.
has done, he does large murals. He just finished this large mural for Timpanogos High School. This is 5 timber wolves in a high school
Oh,
basketball
my goodness.
gymnasium.
Pine trees
Oh, how
in the
beautiful.
background.
Oh, I
It's
want to see
Beautiful.
that.
It's a magnificent piece.
And then you do CD covers for
Album
Yeah.
covers. He's
Media
done
player, rather.
motion picture sets and stuff for plays and productions.
Oh,
So it's just
wow.
a huge, huge area.
Now, is this all help? This equipment here, is it?
Well, this is James's package. At Paragraphics, we try and produce systems or concepts that put the equipment together, with the artwork together, with the materials that you need, the video training that you need, and the 800 number support service to help you learn how to do this.
Oh,
And this
wow.
is James's signature airbrush kit. It's quite a bit different than most things in the airbrush market. The airbrush tool itself is something that's
Oh,
very
I see
well known in the marketplace, but the combination we've put together, including the compressor source for this, is all here. He can
Everything's
take his
inside of
case
here.
and
Everything is in this
Put
case.
it in
You can
every
just
Everything
take
you
it
need
with
is
you.
right here.
You can take it with you and go
Yeah.
and go airbrush
and
something.
do the work. And you look at things like large size pictures for weddings,
Oh,
large
yeah.
size production pieces for sales events and
Oh,
things
my
like
goodness.
that.
Well, everybody could use this. I mean,
Yeah.
a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
there's so many
businesses-
things that apply to airbrushing. It's
What I started to try and find a way out of dentistry has now moved into a region and a range that I never dreamed. I never imagined that I would have thousands of people who are picking up one concept after another.
Oh, wow. And
Little
expanding.
gal in Wisconsin who's making $3,000 a month engraving coffee tables out of her home. That's just
amazing.
not something that's quite normally possible, except it's a very narrow marketing niche that allows people to really kind of become successful before it really gets into too much trouble.
Oh, wow, you're amazing, James. That's
Done
really
a good
wonderful.
job, hasn't he?
I'm trying.
Appreciate you coming and introducing your
Yeah.
new airbrushing kit.
Thanks, Lou.
There is one special area of interest to us ladies, and it all started with Nancy Bryan of Michigan. This housewife, who carved out a business for herself, has become the queen of the wedding engraving world. She does hundreds of weddings each year. She specializes in jewelry for the occasion and all the thank you gifts the bride and groom give. Each item is engraved with a handwritten thank you in the bride's own hand. She also does commemorative engraving on wine bottles and glasses for this very special occasion, when names and dates are so important. The business potential of this information might be of interest to you. The average cost of a wedding these days is an impressive $13,000.
Patty, I'd like to introduce Tamarie now, who's the Vice President of Paragraphics Corporation.
Nice to meet you, Tamara.
Nice to meet you, Patty.
To meet her.
Well, we have one more subject we really need to cover. We've got one final traditional surface. Metal has been the surface that has been done for years and years and years. And we have two very, very spectacular metal engravers, Jim Segg and Van Tishner. We've got a clip that I'd like to show you of what they're doing and how they're doing and a lot of the training that goes on with them. Let's check that
They are
out.
incredible engravers.
Oh, I'm excited. So this is metal, huh?
Van is one of the best in the country in hand engraving on hard steel. He has been our master in metal engraving for a long time. His work is now getting some attention from here to France. Last year you had a piece go clear across the water, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
So it's
World Knife
gradually moving a little more. The World Knife Show was what it was shown in. Van's had a lot of training experience, has been willing to share his talent with a whole bunch of Paragraph people nationwide. He is available for one-on-one kinds of training, but also has regular classes throughout the network. Van takes you from a know nothing about anything and takes you clear to a very advanced level in a 3-day hands-on course.
Van has succeeded with deep cut engraving. He cuts through the stencil directly onto the hardened steel after the knife is completely assembled. Traditional engraving on knife blades are done on soft steel and then the blade is tempered or hardened. The knife is assembled and you hope you choose an engraving the customer wants. The way we approach the process works much better. First, we assemble the knife with the blade already hardened. Second, we engrave on it what the customer requests. I think you can see which works better in the marketplace. Jim Sigg of Sigma Knives in Salt Lake City is a Paragraphics master and is a wonderful knife maker. He's been producing beautiful knives for years and making a great living doing it. The engraving has added an element of interest in his work that he didn't expect.
I got to introduce one of the greatest knife makers in the country now, a rising star in the Paragraph world, Jim Sigg.
How you doing, Lou?
We're at the Park City Art Show in Park City, Utah, and Jim's been here. How many years have you been?
It's either the 4th or 5th year.
4th or 5th year in that area. He's sold practically everything he made already. He's got his knives up here, but we came in late at the end of the day and practically everything's gone. What were the best things for you this year, Jim?
Anything with engraving on it.
Anything with engraving. Do you like to hear that? I love to hear that. That's really terrific. Jim's going to be doing some demonstrating tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah,
11:30 I'll be down on the demonstrating artist stage, and I'm going to engrave some knives while I'm down there.
How'd you get that shot?
They asked me.
They ask you, huh? You've been doing Park City Art Show how many years?
Either 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Good show for you, generally?
Very good, yeah.
That's
Gets
neat.
better every year.
So do you take orders for your knives as well as the custom stuff that you've already got here to sell? Or?
Yeah, I'm mainly at this show, I've mainly been selling off the table. I do take orders. My orders right now are backed up 1 year.
Whole year's worth of work lined up. That's fair. That's a fair amount of work.
Jim gets to travel around the country to all the knife shows and gets paid to do it.
Part of what I'd like to present here at the end of this demonstration is some of the really critical factors that I think has helped Paragraphics really get its success and accomplish as much as it has. And a lot of that has to do with Tamarie's role in the company. She's over some very critical issues and subjects in the company. You want to tell them about it?
My focus is mainly on the aftermarket. When a person purchases their system, then I come back in and I help with the marketing, do the newsletters, but mainly my favorite thing in the whole world is the training.
So you get to meet everybody that purchases
I do.
and you get to work
I
with.
do.
Eventually she
I do.
meets every person. We kind of have it.
How wonderful.
Other people have responsibilities up to the point of they purchase. From then on, they're Tamarie's.
There you go.
It is absolutely wonderful to get to know these people on the phone and then have them come in and just actually get to sit down face to face. That's fun. It's an exciting thing.
The story is always the same. I have one more that we want to present. Ken Brown is really an exciting story for us. Ken Brown is the nation's leading calligraphy teacher.
Wow.
But didn't know anything about engraving calligraphy. But we taught
But he
him.
does calligraphy all
We taught him how to take the calligraphy concept and move it on to other materials. And I'd have to use a pattern because I couldn't do the calligraphy like Ken can do it. But it allows us to be able to do some products and service areas like Rick was mentioning earlier. We engrave for perfume companies and crystal companies. Ken gets absolute first-class treatment by all the top-end crystal companies in the country because they've
He's doing Orfors right now
gotta have
in Waterford.
him do their engraving.
Ken started engraving with us 4 years ago. He can render his beautiful calligraphic verses on almost any surface, which really opened up some doors of opportunity. He engraves a lot for Neiman Marcus and Dillard's department stores, doing what we call interactive marketing. We engrave anyone's handwriting, initials, or monogram on all kinds of products. The companies hire us for $30 to $50 per hour to set up our very portable system. Anywhere there are products and potential customers. Ken also engraves for Waterford Crystal. We all engrave a great deal now for companies like Calvin Klein, Estee Lauder. In fact, the perfume side of our business has literally exploded. We can easily engrave a customer's handwritten personal message on a perfume bottle in seconds. In fact, so could you with only minutes of practice. All we are doing is tracing their handwriting. Ken's letter was really wonderful, and we put it in our newsletter, and I'd like to read just the last paragraph. You merely trace their writing with the drill. It's engraving on the surface. Anyone wanting to learn calligraphy or not can do what I've done. It's become one of the most important elements of my business, with virtually no additional overhead.
I want to try and give people some final indication of things that I think are things they should be considering. We know a lot of things that work because we've been doing it for 15 years now, and there are a lot of things that don't work. And when someone's considering trying to make this into some kind of a handmade engraving studio, which is the idea that generally captures most people's interest, I've done a list of 10 things, or these are high priority reasons that someone can get when they get a hold of their dealer or through the company. We can give them these 10 high priority reasons to help them
For their
understand.
marketing.
These are the reasons why you should do this. These are the things that make a handmade business a really smart investment. We also have have a new program with AT&T that we've developed, and this links our network with AT&T's vast, huge resources on helping them to start up home-based businesses. So it's the solutions of the new business owner, and it allows us to link with them and utilize AT&T's resources. And that's also come because we really have an awful lot of involvement with our telephone. We use the phone a lot. We also have some pre-marketing packages that if someone's interested in motorcycle engraving or wedding engraving or any of these areas that sound appealing, we have pre-marketing information they can also get from the company that can kind of test the water a little bit before they actually go out and do something.
Then we have a Video of the Month program where you can actually train right in the comfort of your own living room.
Oh, how wonderful.
With the TV.
It's so you very, get trained right there.
36
After you test
hours
market
of
it and you
video.
know it's safe.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. I have one other really kind of important subject to me personally, to all of us as a network. We just recently had our very first master in paragraphic circles pass away. Sarah Raines was in Dallas, Texas, was a corporate engraver of some renown and was just really, really successful, and she just died all of a sudden. And so I've started the Sarah Raines Scholarship once a year. Someone in the network will be invited free of expenses to come to Utah and take the Travel and Train program with Tamarack.
How wonderful.
Dedicated in Sarah's name. So we don't ever want to forget the memory of that red-headed little pistol from
We called her little
Dallas,
red
Texas.
hen. Little red hen. She was dynamite.
She was really
She was
something
wonderful.
else. Everyone who watches this video, as well as you that have taken this time to be with me and realize that things happen in our lives sometimes that are kind of unique and unusual, and when you cross a certain path, I call it the intersection opportunity. Your life zooming along here and all of a sudden opportunity kind of shows up. Well, sometimes you have to kind of lean a little bit to be able to take advantage of that. We read this coming, I was coming home from the plane from Hawaii a little while ago, and it was out of the San Diego newspaper. Stockholm, Sweden, this recently, an engagement ring was dropped into the seacoast off the west coast of Sweden almost 2 years ago. It has found its way back to its owner, the Swedish news agency reported yesterday. The ring was consumed by a mussel that turned up in a catch of a shellfish made by fisherman Petter Carlson. Carlson was able to trace the owner to Fire Chief Bent Wenstead because Wenstead's fiancée, Argenta, had made sure her name was engraved on the inside.
Oh, well, then
You want to engrave
so
your
now
ring.
they still know they're married, right?
They know they're married, and the ring still works, and believe me, if it hadn't been engraved, it would have
There
never
you
found
go.
its way home.
So our own engraving love story.
Yeah. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of engraving love stories, and it's been just an absolute incredible thing in my personal life, but now underneath the people who are succeeding and doing well with it, it's just getting stronger and stronger. We appreciate the chance to tell our story. We hope that
I'm
it's
excited
been,
to have heard all of this amazing information.
and we look forward to doing a great deal more with the World Handmade Association and trying to lend those resources to inspire other people to basically take something that ticks inside of you and do something with your own head and your heart and your hands. Hello, my name's Dr. Lou Jensen. This sculpture has been adopted as the symbol for the World Handmade Association. It's done by the nationally renowned sculptor Gary Price. Gary and I have been friends for years, and we decided to put together the foundation to make an effort in two specific areas. One, to capture the talents and inspire other people like you and other adults to dig inside yourselves and develop your own skills through the use of video information, but also to try and spread that information to young people the world over. A lot of kids nowadays think the world's just nothing but movies and video games, and Gary and I'd like to help encourage them to capture and utilize handmade skills. If you'd like to join with us at the World Handmade Association, send your application and a $20 annual fee to the World Handmade Association, Post Office Box 1, Jensen, Utah 84035.